Om Jnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. The translation of this song is as follows. Amon, this mind, speaking to the mind, just like in your favorite song. Vajahu Amon, speaking to the mind. Amon Harinama Karosha. Make Harinam, the name of Hari, Krishna, the very essence of our life, of our existence. Ibhava Shaga, in this ocean of repeated birth and death, there is a path. Habe Bali Chara, there will be a path. Chara means just like in No, here it means just like in the Ganga, you'll see on one side there's very high bank, on the other side it's flat. So when the earth falls down, one side gets deposited on the other side, the new land that comes up is called a char. So this is Bali Char. It's a sandbank. So in this ocean of birth and death, there will be a path that we can go. This path is Harinam, chanting the names of Krishna. And we should have, even though that path won't remain forever, it's especially for Kali Yuga, if we take this path, we can go to Krishna. Some people say all paths are the same, but there is no path equal to that of chanting the names of Krishna. This will take us to Krishna. There are other paths. Dharma, following Varnashram Dharma. Karma, performing prescribed duties according to the Veda system. This Ajapa, this Japa, the chanting so many different names and different kinds of austerities. Jnana, studying with the idea that intellectualism will bring us to the goal. Jnana, yoga. People in the modern age have a vague idea what yoga means. Jag, performing sacrifices. Jnana, yoga, jaga, dhyan, meditation. No, not at all. Not at all. Nahi means not at all, not even slightly, and no chance. 3 times no. No. In Kali Yuga, the only way is to chant the names of Govinda. Upaya Govinda now. Bhukoti, Mukoti, Jagoti, Shaygoti. So the different kinds of religious goals, we shall enjoy ourselves through some religious practice. We shall become liberated from the material world. That goal, some other goal, Jagoti, Shaygoti, Tahe na kari horoti. Don't be attached to any of them. Why? Because even though it may seem very enticing, perform this, do Kundalini Yoga, or go to this ashram, do this, feel that, think that. But all these so-called processes of enlightenment, they are simply like clouds which appear temporarily and very soon are dispersed. Now it's the monsoon in India, so sometimes there's very hot rain, hot sunshine. Then the cloud comes and you feel some relief. Then again it goes away and the hot sun comes. So Meghera Chaya is the shade of a cloud. It gives that kind of shelter. It's only temporary. So don't say that that's the actual goal when it's not. It's not the actual goal. So, what's the next line? Jote ko Puran? No. Badana bhari. Fill the mouth by chanting the holy names of Krishna. That means you have to have faith in the holy names. Those who have faith, they will chant. Others will not chant. Or even if they do chant, that faithless chanting will not bring us to Krishna. Faith means faith that Krishna is the Supreme Person, the Supreme Shelter, the Supreme Friend, and that by chanting His names, we will come to Krishna. So we have to have that faith. We can go on arguing and discussing and feeling and imagining and on and on and on. But if by good fortune we have faith in the names of Krishna, then we can chant with conviction. It's a very easy process. Very easy. Everyone can do. But not everyone can do. Everyone can do theoretically. Can you open that window again? I don't know. Pressure. Theoretically everyone can do, but not everyone can do it. Some people can go on very difficult pilgrimages, walking up the Himalayas, performing great austerities, but still they don't have faith in the holy names. They'll do something very difficult, but the easy thing they won't do because they don't have faith in the name of Krishna. Having been born in Bharata Bhumite, which means India or by extension the whole earth planet, we got this opportunity, we got this human form of life on the earth planet. But this, in the Kali Yuga, when we can chant the holy names and easily attain Krishna. So it's an easy path, we can take it now, and if we don't take the opportunity now, then the opportunity may not be there again. Jateka Purana Pramana Dekhun. Just, you can look through all the Puranas and all the different Shastras. But we won't find anything equivalent to the chanting of the holy names. Because if we have taste for the holy names, then automatically love for Krishna will arise in the heart. And when from love of Krishna, we get Krishna. So then, Premete Hari Ke Pai, we attain Krishna. So then we may think, alright, I'll just chant. But it's said here, Shravana Kirtan. Go on hearing and chanting. Anukam, perpetually, don't stop. So why hearing? Why should we hear? Because hearing is essential. If we don't hear, then we can't chant. Without proper hearing, there cannot be proper chanting. I'll discuss this more in a little minute. So go on hearing and chanting, giving up all other topics, which are all nonsense, which are all meaningless. Give it up, throw it out. Premananda, the author of this song, Kahe Premananda Manusha Janama, having attained this rare human form of life. Kahe Premananda Manusha Janama Shafalaka, make it successful. Don't waste time, don't delay, do it now. You don't know how long we have the opportunity. So take the opportunity. I decided to speak on this because the question came, the perennial question about attentive chanting. How can we chant attentively? Well, why don't we chant attentively? Because we're not perfect. Perfection means to chant attentively. But perfection comes by chanting trying to chant attentively. It's understood that we are not perfect. That's why we're here in this material world. But sadhana leads to siddhi. Sadhana leads to perfection. So the sadhana, or the means of practice, the means of perfection, is to chant the holy names of Krishna, especially the Maha Mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. This chanting will lead to perfection if it is performed inoffensively. But if we're inattentive, that in itself is offensive. So how to become attentive? We have to try for that. Sadhana means to try. Abhasena. Tu kauntaya vairagyena cha grihyate. When inattentive means the mind is wandering here and there. Just when I arrived here, there was a class going on how to give class. So, how to give class in a way that people will be attentive. Because even people come, they make all the endeavor to come to a satsang, or a spiritual meeting. And they come to hear the lecture, but then even when they come with the intention of hearing it, but when they come, they think about my shopping list and that person at work who I don't like, and so many different things. The mind is wandering. So, actually how to speak, the most important thing, there are various techniques, but the most important thing is that if we are convinced of Krishna and we want to communicate that, then that will have the effect. Prabhupada said the secret of his speaking is that because I heard nicely, therefore I can speak nicely. Shravanam is followed. Hearing is followed by kirtan. So, hearing, if we hear nicely, then we can chant nicely. Without hearing, there's no proper kirtan. We won't attain enthusiasm, the enthusiasm to chant nicely unless we regularly hear about Krishna and the glories of Krishna and the glories of the holy name. That's why I was recommending you get this book, Srinam Amrita, compiled from Srila Prabhupada's teachings, about the glories of the holy name and the effects of chanting. Then we can read a little bit every day. And that inspires us. That gives us inspiration to go on chanting. That we become inspired. By chanting, we read every day. By chanting, we attain love of Krishna. By chanting, we become free from material desires. By chanting, Krishna becomes pleased. All these subjects are elaborated upon. So hearing and chanting. And what is chanting? You're asking about chanting attentively. There was someone I met, one devotee I met a few years ago in Newcastle. Remember? You met one devotee in Newcastle? We went up to Newcastle a few years ago. I don't remember, 3-4 years ago? About 3 years ago. So, he had made this whole study of brain waves and attention spans and all this, and how we could so there was some idea how we can make, by some techniques for making the brain attentive. So we can do, just like Prabhupada said, while chanting we can sit with the back straight, because that will help the flow of prana, and that helps to be attentive and all these things. But these are subsidiary matters. The real attentiveness will come when, by good fortune and the association of devotees, we have the desire to hear and chant about Krishna. So, Bhaja Hure Mana, the song you like, so that describes Bhaja Hure Mana Sri Nanda Nandana Abhaya Charanara Bindure Durlabha Manava Janama Shatsange Tarahe Bhavasindure. The prayer to the mind to worship Krishna, the son of Nanda Maharaj. Maybe this girl can go. It's your daughter. Can take her in another room and do that. Because having attained this human form of life and the opportunity to associate with devotees, we can cross over the ocean of material existence. So satsanga, this is most important. This very question that you're asking about attentive chanting, we wouldn't be asking this question unless we had heard about Krishna and His name from devotees. So we've heard from devotees the importance of attentive chanting, but we require to go on associating with devotees so that we can go on hearing and also serving. As I was saying, it's not that just that we can chant attentively. It's not that it's something that happens in the 1 hour or 2 hours that we chant, but everything we do at other times apart from the specified time that we put aside for chanting, that also affects our chanting. So it's not that sadhana is 1 hour or 2 hours or 4 hours activity, but sadhana is 24 hours. Shravana kirtana karo anukam. Should go on. It should go on always, moment after moment. That means everything we do at every moment should be centered on Krishna. That's why we have, at the very minimum, if we are to make actual spiritual advancement, then these regulated principles are essential. No meat eating, no gambling, no illicit sex, no intoxication. Minimally, these are required. Because not that simply by being a vegetarian or being a sadachari, following sadachar, regulated principles, that in itself doesn't bring perfection. But unless we follow these principles, the consciousness will be so much disturbed that there's no question of fixing it on Krishna. So sadachar is the basis, or that is the foundation, we can say. But on top of that, we have to be pointing in the right direction. Just like there may be theoretically in Buddhism, for instance, one is supposed to follow these principles, although most Buddhists don't. Most Buddhists all over the world have decided that non-violence is good, so we won't be violent, we won't kill any animals, but if someone else happens to kill them, we don't mind eating them. That's the animals. That's how Buddhism is practiced in most of the Buddhist countries. So in Buddhism, as theoretically Lord Buddha taught it, one should also follow these principles. But that doesn't bring love of Krishna. One can be following Buddhism and that will take us in the opposite direction. It's not clearly focused on Krishna. So satsanga means to associate with devotees who have faith in Krishna, who will help to guide us to Krishna. If we have the desire to chant the holy names, that is very fortunate. Ahobata. What is that? Ahobata nama. Yadjivagre vartate nama tubhyam. Tepus tapaste juhavu sasna arya brahmanucha nama grinantiyete. Mother of Kapila Devahuti says that those who are always chanting your names are most fortunate. Ahobata svapacha, even if they're born in a family of dog eaters. If they're always chanting your holy names, it's understood that they have passed over all the other Vedic processes, visiting pilgrimage places, performing austerities, studying scriptures. It is the topmost platform of spiritual life to chant the holy names of Krishna. It is not an intermediary process, as some people think, the chanting is just for simple people. And when you become more of a scholar, then you study more and you do more studies, but no. Studying scriptures, that might help us to become Krishna conscious, but study without focus on Krishna, who is the goal of all the Vedas, Vedescha Savaraham Vedyaha, that will not bring us to Krishna. So the essential point is to associate with those who have understood this point. Vedescha Savaraham Vedyaha. Krishna is the goal of all the Vedas. Veda means means knowledge. Knowledge means the highest knowledge is that knowledge of our existential position. Our existential position is Mamai Vangsha Jiva Loke Jiva Bhuta Sanatana. We are eternally parts and parcels of Krishna. So everything is very clear. The knowledge is given in scripture. That is transmitted by devotees. But what happens is that the scriptures are taken by non-devotees who misinterpret it. Even the best book in the world, the best teachings, they're generally the best, they're all misconstrued and misused. In the Western world, there's no doubt the most misused book is the Bible. And any religious teaching that can be misused. Even the very best thing, just like Krishna establishes in Bhagavad Gita, Matap paraktaram nanyat kinchid asti dhananjaya. There's no truth higher than me. Nothing or no one is equal to or higher than Krishna. But rascals, they take this, oh yes, I am Krishna. Exactly, they turn it round and make it the opposite. Or they say, we don't care for scripture. That just by our own feelings or intuition, we shall understand everything. This is all meaningless. So those who have faith in Krishna, they will chant the holy names of Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Those who have faith in the name, just for your information, there are so many things to be learned. But Prabhupada, during the class, he told devotees, you just go and listen. The curtain opens, just go and listen. The hearing is also Krishna, if it's actually to the point of Krishna. Just by seeing you won't see. You have to hear, then you can understand. So this chanting must be accompanied by hearing and serving. If we think I'll just chant, now the devotees told me to chant, okay, I'll chant. And no need to associate with devotees, no need to serve. That won't come to perfection. We're chanting the name of Krishna, but who is Krishna? We have to hear about Krishna to understand. And there are so many misconceptions in our mind. And even if we hear from the proper source about Krishna, we have to go on hearing again and again, because our tendency is to misconstrue what we hear. Even though we hear that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead and we are to serve Him, Hare Krishna, our tendency is to forget that or to reinterpret it in our minds, to adjust it. We're all very strongly influenced by everything we've heard since we were born. Just like in this country, people tend to believe in, well, you should think for yourself. But they all think for themselves in more or less the same way. We all think we're thinking for ourselves, but we can only think within the parameters that we've been given. We think that this is the perfection of human civilization, that everyone should think for themselves. But just see, this thinking for ourselves, what does it lead to? People are worse than wild animals. You can't even walk out of the house for 5 minutes without leaving it locked up with alarms on. This idea we should all be free and everyone should have as much freedom as possible, it's all based on the misconception that basically people are very good and everyone's noble. But actually what it leads to, the freedom of the press, freedom of art means the freedom to blast pornography all over the media. And what kind of freedom is that? That should be restricted. For the uplift of human consciousness, that should be restricted. But that's the main thing on the internet. They developed this internet for communicating information. But the main thing they communicate is the lowest animalistic propensity. So this idea that we should all be free and we should all think for ourselves, no. That's not a good idea. We require to be trained. If there should be freedom, then why the children are sent to school? Because they're to be taught. They should learn what are the facts. So, human life is meant for training, to understand what is the fact of reality. Who are we? What is the purpose of life? That requires training. Training means discipline. But we have this idea that somehow or other we'll all be civilized without any discipline. Freedom is good if we are self-controlled. But if we're not self-controlled, then freedom is a disaster. And most people are not self-controlled. Some control is required in society. Control not only in terms of our activities. Don't kill, don't steal, don't lie. But even to help us control the mind so that we can understand the purpose of life, what we are taught, that should also be focused on what is absolute reality. But people don't know what that is. And therefore they say all paths are the same. Everything is all the same. I don't know what the truth is, therefore you don't know. No one knows. And it's all the same, and it's all true. This is called blather. Just nonsensical speaking. I don't know the way from Birmingham to Manchester, therefore no one can know. No one knows. It's all a mystery. Or you can take someone asks, what is the way from Birmingham to Manchester? You can take any road you like. It's all the same. Or they'll say there is no such place as Manchester. There's no such place as Birmingham. You are not asking this question. You do not exist. And so many nonsense things they'll say. Why do you want to go to Manchester? Why don't you go to Coventry? Sure. Go to Coventry, that's a saying, right? Yeah. Such a person should be sent to Coventry. But there are ultimate fact. There is the ultimate fact. As Prabhupada would always bring it down to this point, we are controlled. Accept this point, that we are all controlled. You say, I don't believe in any God, or I have my own idea of God. Prabhupada would bring it to this very real point. We are all controlled. We did not decide to be born in the particular body that we were born in, or the particular country that we were born in. We cannot control death. Death will come. We don't want to die. Death will come. If we have a toothache, we cannot control that we have toothache. We are all controlled. So we should see who is the Supreme Controller and get in harmony with what He wants us to do. We don't like to hear this because we're promoting the misconception that I am not controlled, I am free. This is the misconception that they promote in modern society, that we are all free. You have freedom to do what you like. Well, you don't have. How much freedom? If you don't go to work, then you have the freedom to sleep under a bridge. Maybe. You can get pulled on by the police. We don't have the freedom to say, I will never die. Actually, I saw a book. Someone had written that I'm going to live forever. I'm doing this meditation, and by it I'm just going to remain young forever, and just complete foolishness. There's no need to come back 50 or so many years later and find that this person died also. It's inevitable. So there are certain facts which we cannot ignore. This material world is miserable. And however much we may talk about love and peace and tolerance, the fact is that every living being in this material world is suffering. Repeated birth and death, disease, old age. These are facts. So by our feelings of love, that will not improve anyone's condition. But if we understand why there is this suffering in conditional life, why is that? What is the cause? There must be a reason for it. If we want to solve a problem, we have to find out what is the cause of the problem. What is the cause of our suffering in this material life? That may be very difficult for us to find out. The scientists, they can't even find out the cause of different diseases. It may take them many years of research. Or they're trying to find out what is the cause of the universe. And they have so many theories, black holes and invisible matter and so many things they invent in their imaginations. But if it's difficult for us to understand what's going on in this material world, then how are we to understand about the ultimate cause of all causes? Just like this building. We're in this building. What's this address? 84 Stanmore Road. Okay, here we are at 84 Stanmore Road. So, it is reasonable for us to assume that this building was built by some persons. It was designed and built, and it would be absolutely foolish to assume that it wasn't built by any person. But if we were to find out who is that person, that would require more research. It might be difficult now. How long ago was this built? Any idea? 50 years, 60 years? Huh? Nearly 100 years. Okay, who was the bricklayer? Can you find out the name of the bricklayers? Pretty difficult to find out, huh? No, almost. If it's 100 years ago, then almost certainly not alive. You might be able to, if you do some research, you might be able to find out the name of the architect. Maybe. There might be some records. So what about the whole universe? They're doing research to try to find out how it came into existence, and they conclude that it came into being by chance. There's no architect, there's no designer. It's far more complex than they can even imagine, but they say there's no designer. If we say this house came into being without any designer, is it a sane proposition? No, it's insane. It's stupid. Now, if we say this house, there was an explosion, and then afterwards the house was there, it's just foolish. We laugh. But if we say the whole universe came into being by an explosion, oh yes, that's very intelligent. And then they make calculations, and they talk about black holes and this invisible black matter, and they make up all these things to fit their theories, which in the beginning, from the very beginning, they're all nonsense. So there is a design. It's only sane to understand there is a controller, there is a designer. We're here, there is a purpose. Why is there suffering? What is the reason? That we have to find out from Shastra, from Scripture, which is given by the designer. It's the manual, how to live in this world. When you buy a microphone, there's a manual, what it's for, how to use it. So Scripture is given. That is the manual, how to get out. It's not a matter of, you can have your opinion. Well, in my opinion, this microphone would be good for stirring soup. You could use it for stirring soup. It's not the best thing for stirring soup, but just a simple spoon would be better. But the microphone would be spoiled. It's a stupid thing to do, to stir the soup with it. So, we should find out from the persons who know, not just my opinion. Why are you stirring the soup with a microphone? Well, I feel like it. Feels to me like a good thing to do. But why should we trust our own imperfect mind and senses? People all the time say, well, I believe this, and I believe. Who the hell are we? So what does it matter what you believe? Reality is not dependent on our belief. To say, I believe, immediately means we're a rascal, number one. That means we think that my opinion is so important, I have to tell someone else. But when we don't know actually what we're talking about, we should learn, shravan, hear from those who know. Who will listen? In a convention of scientists, if a 10-year-old boy comes in and says, well, I believe, who will listen? But you should be trained, you should understand, you should know. There are facts of reality. They are described in Scripture. We should know what that is. It's not a question of our belief. We believe one thing and then we hear something else and then we believe something else and we think we can feel our way intellectually to understand reality. That is not possible. We have to learn. There is a proper system of learning. Tadvidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadekshanti te jnanam jnaninas tattvadarshinaha. Those who have seen reality by the process, shrutekshitapata, the process of seeing by hearing from the Vedic scriptures, they can describe, but we can't hear unless we are properly prepared for hearing. How can we hear? We can chant nicely when we hear nicely, but how can we hear properly? We can hear properly when we are submissive and sincere to hear that message. We have faith that what is spoken is worth hearing, that I don't know, I require to learn. That submissiveness is required. The service is required. The inquisitiveness to understand the absolute truth, that is required. If one is approaching spiritual authorities in this way, then one can learn. One can become purified. But there's so much distortion. People, they say, whatever you feel, this God, that God, it's all the same. Or they come to a guru, the guru-disciple relationship, just the guru is a picture on the wall, that's all. You wave some incense sometimes. But hearing, we should hear, we should understand, Bhagavat Tattva Vijnanam, what is the science of knowledge of Krishna. It's a very simple process to become God realized. But it requires faith and submission. And it requires the good fortune to come to the right place and apply ourselves to the process. That good fortune will come if we are actually sincere to know God. If we want something else, then we won't get. Or even we come to the right place and we won't get. We'll go away. Or we'll misinterpret, reinterpret, malinterpret. So the process is very easy. Chanting the holy names. Easy, simple for the simple. That means simple means devotees should be simple. That doesn't mean foolish. It actually means most intelligent. That means without getting diverted by so many complexities, we simply accept. Here is Krishna. Here is the way to Krishna. Unfortunately, in the modern age, we're so much used to that everything should be for our entertainment, that we think that religion or self-realization is another form of entertainment. So who's a very lucid speaker or a very entertaining speaker? Oh yes, this is very nice. Who can make us laugh? Who makes us feel nice? We think this is very good. We judge everything by our polluted feelings. But simply that our mind or our emotions are titillated is not equivalent to receiving knowledge of Krishna and applying ourselves to that. So Krishna consciousness means to serve Krishna, to understand Krishna. It's very easy, it's very joyful. It's the only path of actual happiness. But at the same time, it's very serious. Krishna consciousness means, to actually enter into Krishna consciousness means to make the determination, to make the decision to give up all attachment to this material world, to give up all material preconceptions and submit ourselves as servants of Krishna. Krishna consciousness is very easy, but at the same time it's very difficult for us to give up the concept that I am the center of everything, that my self-interest is all important. But when we realize that we are simply meant to serve Krishna, then the path becomes very easy. But it's difficult for us to give this up. So that is possible by Shravana, Kirtana, Karo, Anukana, Ashata, Pachala, Chari. By this determination that I must go on hearing and chanting about Krishna and serving Krishna incessantly and give up all material attachments. That again, it won't come just by saying it once. And to keep that determination strong, we have to apply ourselves to the process of sadhana. Apply ourselves. That having the faith that if we apply ourselves to this process, that hatiya hoibepa, we will be able to cross over this material ocean and attain the mercy of Krishna. So these are some thoughts on the oft asked question about how can we chant with attention. We have to go on trying, applying ourselves to hearing, applying ourselves to serving, having faith that if we try, Krishna will help us. At the same time, it's not a fully mechanical process. We say we should chant attentively, that's true. But that attention, it's not a mechanical attention, but the attentiveness ultimately comes from attraction to Krishna. It's just like if you're walking past a room, the door is open and you hear someone inside, they're mentioning your name. All of a sudden you become very attentive, isn't it? Oh, what are they saying about me? They're going to say something good or bad. You become very attentive. So in that way we should have attention to hear the name of Krishna. That kind of automatic attention, we become attracted. I want to hear. That doesn't come by practice. We can make practice to try to hear attentively. But if we hear the topics of Krishna, how Krishna is born, although he is unborn, he is born in the prison house of Kamsa, how he is taken over the Yamuna to Vrindavan, how he is creating, maintaining and destroying millions of universes, how he is the Paramatma within everyone's heart. By hearing about Krishna, we become attracted to Krishna. And then we become attracted to hear his name, which is none different from him. It's a big job for us small Kali Yuga souls. The task has been made very easy. Hare Nama, eva kevalam kalo nasjeva gatiranyata. In this age of Kali, there is no other way to attain the lotus feet of Hari, but to chant his holy names, chant his holy names, chant his holy names. So it's a very easy process, but because we're so unfortunate, we find it to be something very difficult. So therefore we have to pray to Krishna. Please help me. Ayi nanda tanuja kinkaram patitam mam vishame bhavam buddho kripaya tava pada pankajas titaduli santusham vichinta. Please consider me. I'm fallen in this ocean of birth and death. Please place me in the dust of your lotus feet. Please consider me your servant. Praying to Krishna. So Krishna will help us. We have to go on with the process. Krishna will certainly help us. That faith we have to have. Krishna helps us through his devotees. So please keep association with devotees and go on very seriously with this process. It's really the only way to attain Krishna consciousness, to take it up very seriously. We're aiming for a very high goal. No one attains anything of value without seriously trying for it. No one became a leading scientist or sportsman or politician or even criminal without really being serious about it. So we're not trying to be leading. The devotee doesn't think I'll be the leader. The devotee just thinks how I can serve Krishna. But to serve Krishna, that's not such a small thing. That's the very highest goal. So it requires dedication, determination, commitment, day after day after day. And Krishna will help us. So that's brief answer to your question. And it could be elaborated on more and more and more. Are you reading Prabhupada's books regularly? You have all of Prabhupada's books? Bhagavad Gita as it is. You have that. Srimad Bhagavatam. Please get all these books. We are reading so many things. We read newspapers, we watch the TV, we read so many books in school and college. Better to read about Krishna. Fill our consciousness with Krishna. We're reading and hearing about so many different things. At the time of death we have to think of Krishna. Srila Prabhupada has very kindly written so many books to give us knowledge of Krishna. So let us take these books and utilize our time for hearing about Krishna. And others will scoff. Let them scoff. We shall hear about Krishna. Yeah, any other? That was coming from one question. If there are any other questions, I'll try to answer them more briefly. The process to childhood, adolescence, adulthood, old age, and death.
Krishna knows that He's given free will.
Krishna has given us some free will, yes.
When you say that,
small amount of independence.
controls everything we do.
He controls and He gives free will also, yeah. Both things.
If you're going to murder somebody,
Both things are there.
if you're going to murder somebody, He knows on this earth you're going to suffer maybe up to 30 years. But sometimes you stop you doing it as well.
But you've said yourself He gives us free will. There's control and there's free will also. So what do you want to be, a machine? You don't want to have consciousness?
What I was saying, from a young age, as a person grows up, he wants to mature, he learns from his mistakes.
Maybe.
That is Krishna what is giving you free will. He's hoping that you learn from your mistakes. And,
It's more complex than that. The whole process of material life is very complex. We take birth in various situations due to our previous activities and desires. And the goal of having achieved this human form of life, the goal of that should be to seek out Krishna. But Krishna gives us independence, minute independence. If we misuse that, then we don't go to Krishna. We can go to Swarga, the heavenly planets, and we may go to hell. So there is independence. If there's no independence, then we're just machines, and then there's nothing to discuss. So some independence is there, but we should use that properly. We should take proper guidance. So please take proper guidance and properly use your human form of life. Where are you going? Where are you going, sir? Where are you going? Huh? Where are you going? No, I'm asking one question to you. Where are you going? Hopefully. What are you doing to go there? You chant, you offer service. Yeah, okay, that's good. You should... Good citizen means what? You can be a cow eater and be a good citizen. We should very clearly make the goal of our lives Krishna and do whatever is required to go to Krishna. Be a good devotee. Follow what Krishna has given.
The question what you mentioned in this country, why it's so difficult, that's a very good point. The reason in this country, I'm not going through than everybody else is happening.
Yeah, this is typical
India,
British talk.
Anybody in here can put their hand up to say they've lost everything. There's not many people. That is the difference. If you're in India, you have one...
Anyway, wherever we are, in India or in Britain, please chant Hare Krishna and understand everything in this world is temporary. We have to surrender to Krishna. This educational system really, well, wherever we are, it's either India or Britain, whatever, it really screws us up. So better to understand real education means to understand we are part and parcel of Krishna. We are meant to serve Him. This idea, don't intrude. Why not intrude? Better if you know who is Krishna, better tell people. Someone's walking off the edge, they're walking towards the edge of the cliff and they're wandering around thinking everything's wonderful, looking at the sky. They're going to walk off the edge of the cliff. You should intrude. Tell them, hey, look out. So this idea, we should let everyone do what they like. If you want to eat meat, eat meat. If you want to have sex, left, right, center, upside down, inside out, it's all the same. But no, this is sinful. They have manufactured this idea that everyone should be allowed to enjoy as long as it doesn't harm others. This is the underlying principle of the liberal society. But they don't know how much suffering they are causing to themselves and others by breaking the laws of God, breaking the laws of nature. Sex is very powerful. Unless it's done according to religious principles, then it causes so many problems. So this idea, just let everyone do whatever they like and be nice to everyone and don't intrude on anyone. This is the pig's philosophy, actually, that you all be nice to everyone and do whatever you like, and no moral principles, and no religious principles. And we think this is very advanced. But if anyone doesn't agree with us, if they have a different idea of how society should be, then we'll bomb them to pieces. We'll invade their country and bomb them so that they can become democratic like us. Love and peace. It's hypocritical. Anything else? It must be hypocritical. Everything that non-devotee says must be hypocritical. All their talk of love, peace, humanitarianism, altruism, it all comes back to that we'll all just forget Krishna, that's all, which is in itself sinful.
That book, Brahmacharya and Krishna Consciousness, has to be introduced
in the schools. Yeah.
You see, teenage pregnancy, you say freedom. It's the biggest problem.
Well, we're not against teenage pregnancy, but they should be married.
Yeah. Should be married.
The body is given for that purpose, but it should be done in a religious way. You see, they see this rascal society. They're against child marriage, but they allow teenage pregnancy and unmarried mothers. Anyway, there you see the human tendency, they're going to have sex anyway. So why not have them married young? But they'll criticize, Indians. Now in India it's also illegal until the age of 18. It's even less, it's even higher than in England. So, not that everyone follows that, but they say, it's very bad, child marriage. That's very wrong. But then, anyway the children are having children. And that's acceptable. This idea, because they should have freedom. But people misuse their freedom. You say teenage pregnancy is a problem. Why is that? Because misuse of freedom. They've been given the freedom to do as they like and they misuse it. So better be controlled and guided in the proper way so that you don't enter on sinful life. But they'll protest that so much. Shudras or low-class people want the freedom. They consider it a sacred principle to have the freedom to engage in sinful activities.
You mentioned how Krishna is the supreme controller, but at the same time he gives us independence. So how
minute independence. Krishna is the supreme controller and he gives us minute independence. Just like a man ties up a cow, the cow has freedom to move as far as the rope allows him. minute independence.
So we shouldn't fall.
Shouldn't?
We shouldn't be falling towards the wrong path because Krishna is there to control us.
He gives us minute independence. We can use it or misuse it. If we're completely controlled, then we don't have any choice. Then we're not living beings. Then we're machines. And then where's the question of love? That's like everything I do good, I do it. And everything I do bad, it's God's fault. This is the rascal philosophy. Now, I'm supposed to go to Coventry soon. Yeah, alright. Shall we chant Hare Krishna for 5 minutes more? And Madhurena Samapayat. Everything should finish sweetly. So there's nothing sweeter than the name of Krishna. Sometimes to appreciate that sweetness a little, just like in Bengali food, first you eat the bitter food. And at the end comes the sweet, but before the sweet comes the sour. So sometimes you need a little sourness to appreciate the sweetness. We can't actually appreciate the sweetness of Krishna's name unless we are finished with the so-called sweetness of this material world. So let's chant the holy names of Krishna, which are sweeter than anything. But if we're really to appreciate that sweetness, we have to